Bill, welcome back to the program.
Tom, as always, what a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. I understand that you and you have an open solicitation to a group of friends to get arrested with you.
And it's turned out to be a bigger deal than we might have thought right at first. A couple of months ago, a group of us, Naomi Klein and Wendell Berry and others, and I sent out a letter asking people if they'd come to D.C. Beginning August 20th through September 3rd to commit civil disobedience in an effort to persuade the president not to grant a permit for this pipeline from the tar sands of northern Alberta
This is
down
called
to the Gulf of Mexico.
This is called the Keystone XL pipeline. Right?
And it's by far the biggest straw stuck into that tarry milkshake up there. Jim Hansen, the greatest climatologist on the planet, said not long ago that if we burn a large quantity of that tar sands oil, it's, and here I quote, essentially game over for the climate. That's what got even those of us who don't live along the pipeline route and have to worry about spills, and those of us who don't live in Alberta and haven't watched the boreal forest be destroyed. That's what got the rest of us finally scared.
Now, is that because either A, it's just that much more oil being burned, or because basically this is bringing Alaskan oil down to Texas refineries, or is it B, that the process of extracting this oil from shale and from tar sands is releases in and of itself, independent of the ultimate oil and gasoline that's burned, the process itself releases massive amounts of carbon dioxide, or is it both?
A little of both. It is a completely ridiculous way to get oil out of the ground. You have to burn a lot of natural gas to heat the oil enough to make it flow. But even if you didn't have to do any of that, that pool of carbon up there in Alberta is the second biggest pool of carbon on the planet, after only the oil fields of Saudi Arabia. We can't burn it if we're serious about climate change. It's got to stay in the ground.
Right.
And the good news is, to the extent that there's good news, is that, this time President Obama is going to get a clean shot at doing this. Congress doesn't play a role. The president has to sign a piece of paper saying this thing is in the national interest. And he said he will do it one way or another by the end of the year. And we're trying to demonstrate that there's deep support for him doing the right thing. And I think we're starting to do that. We've got about 2,000 people committed to coming and getting arrested. This will be the largest civil disobedience action, I think, in the history of the U.S. environmental movement.
Wow.
And one of the largest of its kind in many years. One of the great, wonderful ironies, we didn't know it at the time, not ironies, beautiful coincidences, is that in the middle of this 2 weeks of sit-ins, they'll be dedicating a monument to Martin Luther King on the Mall. And it'll be a wonderful chance to show that his tactics and his witness aren't just history. They're very much in the present.
Speaking of nonviolent sit-ins, two quick thoughts here. One, is that my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that this oil is actually a whole heck of a lot closer to the Pacific Ocean than it is to Texas. But Canada won't, the next states over won't allow the pipeline to go through their states, and that's why Alberta is trying to bring it through the United States. Do I have that right?
More or less. It's First Nations, Indian tribes in Canada that have been very effective at blocking that pipeline. They have more legal rights than American native tribes, and they've tied it completely up in litigation to the point where the Alberta energy minister said the other day that if they can't build this pipeline through to Texas, they'll be, and here I quote him, landlocked in bitumen. That's the technical name for this gooey, tarry sand they've got up there.
Pronounced bitumen. I always thought it was bitumen. But
it could be.
Bituminous. I have no idea.
They're going to be landlocked in that stuff if they can't build this pipeline, which is why, as always, they're doing everything they can to game the U.S. political system.
Sure.
They, hired Hillary Clinton's old deputy campaign manager to be their chief lobbyist. WikiLeaks documents that came out a couple of weeks ago showed our envoys meeting with Canadian energy companies to help them gain favorable media coverage. It's wired. The only thing that will stop it is President Obama, and that's why a bunch of us will be wearing, when we get arrested, we'll be wearing our old Obama 08 buttons, In a sense, this is less a protest of him than a kind of, an attempt to remind ourselves and him the hope and joy that accompanied his campaign and election. On the night he was nominated, he said, "If I'm elected, it'll mean that the rise of the oceans will begin to slow and the planet will begin to heal." Now, he's been hampered by our idiot Congress for a very long time in doing at least some of the things that would have helped. This one, he's a basketball player. He's got a 20-foot open jumper from the top of the key. And the question is, will he shoot or will he pass? And we'll learn a lot about President Obama from this decision because it's his decision to make.
It seems to me, Bill McKibben, that there's another natural ally for you in this, although, the right is typically bought out by corporate America, which is all about the oil. And the Koch brothers, of course, are going to be all about this oil. They got big refineries, I believe, down in Texas. But having a massive oil pipeline run right through the center of the United States is like put your dynamite here with a giant red arrow on it on the map for every terrorist in the world that wants to do some harm to this country. And there's no possible way, given how big and how rough and how unpopulated much of the land through which that pipeline would pass, that it could be protected. It's a terrorist magnet.
That's one of the reasons that people in Texas and Nebraska in particular have been so outspoken against it. The great Jane Klebb, who's been leading much of the fight in Nebraska, is here with us today. There's a huge caravan of people coming from Texas and Nebraska doing road shows all along the way and arriving here in time to be arrested towards the end of this 2-week protest. They're all over this. And it's not just the terrorism threat, the great threat of this stuff leaking into, among other things, the Ogallala Aquifer over which it will pass, and the fact that they're using eminent domain to take, beautiful...
They're going to take a lot of people's homes.
Yeah.
And maybe even some cities, but probably they'll route around to the cities. But they're going to take a lot of people's homes and a lot of people's farms and a lot of people's ranches. The Ogallala Aquifer is the nation's largest.
It's the biggest pool of underground fresh water in the continent, I think.
Yeah, and this is a giant lake of fresh water that's 10,000 or more years old, underground, that it took 10,000 years for rainwater to seep down and fill it, and it supplies water to, about a dozen or more states?
Yeah, I think 20 million Americans take their water from there.
And if this pipeline was to be either blown up by people with nefarious intent or just good old-fashioned broke and nobody noticed it for a while, and that oil got into that aquifer, that's the end of safe water, drinking water and agricultural water for 20 million people.
20 of the most preeminent scientists in the U.S. sent a letter to President Obama last week saying this thing is a dog. It's a no-brainer to oppose it scientifically. The only question is politically. Right. The Koch brothers have put so much money into it. The big oil companies have put so much money into it. It's going to be hard for the president to stand up to this. We'll find out what he's made of, and the more people who go to tarsandsaction.org and get involved, the better the chances.
Great. tarsandsaction.org. I'm assuming there's a link from 350.org as well?
Is indeed.
Okay, and we'll put one off there from thomhartmann.com as well, and we'll put it in our newsletter tonight that goes out to all of our subscribers as well. So, Bill McKibben, 350.org. Thank you, Bill.
Take care.
Keep up the great work.